Welcome to Morrison Madness. I'm Don.
I'm Lachelle.
This is our friends, Jeff and his wife, Susan.
Yeah, we bring Jeff on to tell more stories about Don. I think that's what it is, right?
Is that the sole reason? This has turned into a podcast about all of the catastrophes and disasters that are Don's life.
Yes. It is Morrison Madness.
Well, that's true. And Grace did say that you don't fit into that category because you and I, remember that?
Right, yes.
We were going to that movie.
But we weren't married yet.
Yeah,
so she
Grace
said, of course she doesn't get it. She's not a
you
Morrison
don't get it.
yet.
You're not a Morrison.
Right.
And until you guys are married, it doesn't happen to you, the bad luck.
Yes.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Some of it does happen with close proximity.
True. Yes.
So, for a little bit of backstory, Jeff and I went to most of elementary school together and high school together. And we were pretty good friends, hung out a lot, partied a lot, played in sports together. I don't think you were in band, were you? No.
Not so much.
Took a lot of the same classes, hung out together at parties and stuff like that. We didn't grow up in a big school, so everybody knew everybody.
When you say not a big school, though, you should clarify that, because some places not a big school is 400 people, and some places not a big school is 5 people. So you need what's your graduating class
Jeff probably
size
knows the exact number better than I do. I thought we had 28 kids.
in your graduating class?
Did we have 28 kids?
I was under the impression it was 30 out of 31 that graduated that year, but I don't.
There was somebody that didn't graduate, huh?
Well, it was a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. But I remember it was like 31 kids.
Okay, I thought it was 28, and I graduated 29th.
Oh, okay.
That was my recollection, but it could have been 30.
You didn't end up with a DNF at the end of the first race. That was good.
I may have had to take a class or two at Kirkwood.
The local community college to get your high school diploma?
I did, and I had to take a PDQ because I was shipping out 2 weeks after graduation. So
for the Marine Corps,
yeah. Even though we were done with school and graduation wasn't for 2 weeks later, I had a month that I had to make up those classes in because I was out of there. June 13th was my leave date. So that was rough.
Yeah, it seems like it was Memorial Day weekend when we graduated, or somewhere very close to that.
Yeah, they let me walk though. They didn't want me to be embarrassed. Not like the whole town didn't know.
Apparently.
There's a little asterisk next to your name on the
Graduated
program.
with an asterisk.
I was more embarrassed about the fact that our school colors, or not our school colors were black and gold, and we had, I don't know who the idiot in our class that decided that we were going to wear red gowns. In high school, I had red hair, and I did not look good in red at all. It was god awful, and I objected.
I remember,
and all the girls overruled me.
Well,
red gowns for a black and gold high school.
Yes, they were god awful.
That's weird.
And it was the brightest red you can imagine.
They're probably the same gowns that I wore when I graduated from high school.
probably. We had to rent them.
Could be.
I was not a happy
Fire
camper.
engine.
Maybe they were cheaper, and that was the reason.
I don't know.
So I was thinking about the graduation that day and the red gowns, and one of the drawbacks to being in a small school with you have 20 some kids, possibly 30 in your class. We were supposed to pair up boy and girl and walk wherever across the gym floor or something, and so we had run out of girls, so myself and another boy had to walk, and that was a very uncomfortable thing. So I like to make light of those situations. So I do remember myself and Jim Hillier, we were walking down there, and so I did this thing where we walked arm in arm,
right?
And I was kind of crying, doing this, and the entire gym just went into hysterics, and it was hilarious, and everybody laughed, and it was
awesome.
it was a fun twist. I mean,
Right.
I was so ready to get done just with that day. I really enjoyed high school, but I was just so ready to get over that one day. It was really, there was more pressure for me that one day,
Right.
than really through all of school.
Right.
And I don't really know why, but I knew I was graduating.
Big wink. Big wink.
Some people maybe didn't have that figured out, but got it straightened out. Bless their heart. But yeah, that was pretty fun.
That's not pointed at you at all.
But that was really the fun thing is just on the fly, walking arm in arm. I just grabbed his arm. We walked down the steps, and that entire gym was just laughing hysterically.
Right.
And that was really
Enjoying
fun for
it.
me. That was a great memory for me.
So
Sure.
I just want to tell you, long before graduation was ever in the picture, I learned a very, very valuable life lesson.
Uh-oh.
You can never relive a party. You can always retake a class.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You are wise beyond your years.
Yeah, sure.
I have retaken many classes. There's very few parties that I've had to miss.
You didn't miss many, as I recall.
No.
No.
And I'll tell you, I don't remember almost anything about graduation. I don't know who I walked with. I feel like I would have rather had walked with you or Jimmy because I would have remembered that. I have no idea who the girl is I walked with.
Right.
The only thing that I remember is after graduation when we were standing out in front of the thing and everybody's supposed to throw their hat in the air. Yeah. I remember Shane Nicola crying.
Yes, I remember that, yes.
Only thing I remember.
Yeah.
Why? Because
That's it. Just because he was so happy that it was all over with, I think.
It was just a big change.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and you hear for several years, well, if you don't get this done, you're not going to graduate. Like, that's the biggest moment in your life.
Right.
And maybe up until the time you turn maybe 19, that might be the biggest thing in your life. But
I think
really
part of
after
that
the
is
fact.
built up so then that way they get kids to actually graduate on time.
Yeah.
I have
Attend
no
all
idea.
the attend all
you
the
didn't really care.
classes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those simple little things that need to happen.
But you learn
You know
all
what?
the social lessons.
When you're in 6th grade and your teacher tells you you're going to turn out just like your old man and not graduate from high school, and at that point in your life you had no idea that your dad didn't graduate from high school,
Yeah.
that's a hell of a thing right there to really set some goals for that child.
Right.
And how did the teacher know?
Yeah, because she had been there for 600 years.
Yes. She came over on the Mayflower.
That went over real well with my parents and the school board, by the way.
I bet.
Pretty sure she retired after that year.
Yep.
As I recall, I retired several teachers.
I'm sure you did.
You know, it does seem like...
I don't blame them.
Miss Draper,
Oh, yes. Man, I forgot about her.
3rd grade, we were standing outside from recess, and Danny Carr kicked some girl.
Oh, Danny Carr.
And she came up and kicked Danny and said, "Only jackasses kick people." And I said, being the smart child that I was with a high IQ, what does that make her? And she backhanded me. And so hard that it smacked my head up against the school.
wall.
Yeah, and it was a brick wall.
Yeah.
But she got me across the nose, so it gave me a bloody nose. Both nostrils were bleeding. And I said to her, "Can I go in and take care of this?" And she said, "No, you just stand there and wait in line like everybody else." So I just let it drip all the way through the school, all the way to my desk, sat down at my desk and just let it drip and pool on my desk.
Breathe through it, spray it out. Yeah.
And Miss Nicholson was like, what's going on? What happened to you? And, and I told her, and she's like, "Oh my God, I got to call the principal." And the principal comes in and he's, "What is going on? Oh my God." Yeah. So then they sent me to the bathroom and they're trying to get stuff cleaned up. And I said, "Well, maybe you should call my mom."
She knows how to fix it.
And then my mom showed up, and Miss Draper retired at the semester.
Huh.
Isn't that something? So you're one of those.
I was
Yes.
one of those. I know it's horrible.
Man.
I didn't ask for her to be retired. The school board made that decision. They did.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. I'm sure your mom may have had a few words with the school board.
But here's what I can tell you. I guarantee you, these words never came out of my mom's mouth. "If you don't get rid of her, we'll sue you."
Oh, yeah, no.
My parents never would have threatened to sue somebody over something like that, ever.
Which we've already established since she was telling the story about getting hit by the bus.
Yeah,
and
right.
they didn't even think about suing the company.
Right.
And the company just paid them.
Yeah,
And they were like,
that's
"Oh,
not-
there's money."
It's not the kind of family I grew up in.
Right. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. See, now, me, on the other hand, I was pretty much what you would call a golden child.
You were a good student.
Definitely. Good student.
All the teachers liked you.
Well, some of them did. Not very many.
All the ones I can remember.
I can't think of any right off the top of my head. But I was a nice boy.
Yeah.
I was a nice boy. I remember when I think I was a sophomore, and we had 2 gym teachers. One of them was the regular teacher, and one of them was a student teacher. And so the regular gym teacher, this one teacher said to me my sophomore year, the regular gym teacher, he said, you're just so much nicer this year. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not really sure how to take it, but, it was a compliment from a teacher, which was the first.
Did it make you want to get more? Oh, okay. I was going to say.
It was basically the last.
See, now that's funny, because I remember that Miss Nicola always liked you.
She was my neighbor. She didn't really have a choice.
Is that what it was? Because
funny story about Miss Nicola. Isn't it funny how you know your teachers by Miss or Mr.?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a first name somewhere in there.
Yes.
So
her husband's name was Denny.
Yep.
Right.
She was Miss Nicola.
Right.
Yeah, she's still Miss Nicola. So she had this green late 70s Grand Prix that they thought was some kind of collector's item and only saw the light of day out of the garage once in a great while. So one day after school, her son Shane and I were playing basketball, and the car was out, up by the house, away from the basketball, so it was pretty safe. And so him and I were horsing around, as boys are wont to do, and I had the ball, and we were doing like a dodgeball with basketball. And of course, he went right over to his mom's car because he thought,
"Oh, Jeff won't
he
throw
will
it there.
never throw it at this car." And that was probably one of the underpinnings of my luck growing up, was that the time that I threw the ball was right when she turned the corner walking home from school. And of course, he's not taking a bullet for this car. He jumps out of the way, hit the window, didn't break the window. But she started screaming at me from 2 blocks away, or a block away, I guess. And I'm like, dude, I gotta go. I'm gonna be in the house. Left him to burn out of the whole deal. And
right.
Yeah, she did love that car. She did not love me very much.
His parents were very, very much into overreacting.
They had an only child.
We were playing basketball down at the South Park, right, where on the tennis court thing, and Shane backed into my car. Wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Dented the fender. We took it to the local repair guy who was pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name. He lived down the road from me out in the country. Hempstead.
Oh, yeah. Hempstead. Yep.
Right? And so a much better deal than having to go through insurance and go to somebody like Vic's Auto Body or somebody that would really charge an arm and a leg for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And a few weeks later, I pulled up at Moco, and all the parking spots are full, and I saw Shane's car, and he was coming out of the building, and I parked right behind him, and I got out of my car, and I started talking to him. Well, his dad comes up, starts screaming and yelling at me that it's no wonder that your car got hit, you parked behind me, and just lost his mind over it. Right? I'm like, oh my God, dude, I stopped for 1 second.
To talk to you, right.
To talk to his son.
Right, knowing that you're going to be talking to them, the car's not going to move, potentially. Yes. I mean, unless he's mad at you, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like,
so they were a little overreactive.
They were very protective.
Yes, of the Shane. Yes. I think my favorite story about Miss Nicola, though, was when we were in home ec class.
Do you know we were in that class together, yes, I remember it.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Did it have anything to do with playing music?
No.
No, not that one?
No, well, there was always something to do with playing music and the different songs. Okay. I mean, one of them was ILBT's.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking.
No. Somehow
it's a Joe Walsh song.
Okay.
You have to Google it.
I Like Big Tits.
Oh.
It's a great song.
You can Google it.
Gotcha.
So, anyway, I don't know how she got elected to do, because she wasn't the science teacher, but she got elected to do the sex education.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we were sophomores. And she gets on this conversation about when girls reach puberty, they get their menstrual cycle. And this kid in our class named Alan, I won't mention his last name. He
because there's only 28 kids in the class, you might be able to figure that out.
Alan.
Right.
He raises his hand and says, "What's a menstrual cycle?" And before Miss Nicola can answer, Jeff says, "It's like a Suzuki, only louder."
And it was just there and it came out. I didn't really know what to think about. I didn't know any more than Alan did, but I know how to make a joke.
And the best part was, it took Miss Nicola 10 minutes to stop laughing and come back up and actually, and she had to leave and go into where the kitchen was, because we were up where the sewing stuff, and she had to go in the other part of the room where the kitchen was and compose herself before she could come. She tried to come back and then just looked at all of us and lost it and left again.
My question with that is, how many of the guys then looked at each other and go, how come they get a motorcycle and we don't?
No,
it's not fair.
No, I don't. I'm pretty sure Alan was the only one that didn't know what was going on. Everybody else was crying.
We all knew the jokes, but none of us could figure out what was actually happening.
How many girls were in the class?
Well, it would have been sex ed, so it would have been divided.
Half and half.
Yeah.
They would have been divided.
They probably would have divided.
Was there
it
girls
at
in
that
that
point.
class?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if they were for that.
wondered.
Because I remember in elementary they split them. Boys got the one sex ed class and girls got the other.
No, there were girls in the class because I remember...
Mickey Jo was in there, I think, because she was in our class together.
Yeah, and then I can't think of the one girl's name because she was only at our school for a couple years. She had dark hair.
Kim Vinton.
Yes. Bingo.
Boom.
She was in the class because she was sitting
That's
right
why
next
I'm
to
here.
me, and she was actually like, oh my god, like she was clapping him and it was funny. She thought it was freaking hilarious.
She was somewhat advanced.
She was very
she
mature.
Must have went to a larger school.
She was. I think she came from a much larger school.
Could be.
She did.
She was
that
very
wouldn't
mature.
take much.
No,
that's
that
true.
didn't take much.
Not really, no.
That's true.
So one of the big things.
You know what? We might have to do a second podcast because you're going to get into the story and you're not going to have enough time.
No, I'm gonna set the groundwork for this story because it has a lot of background.
Okay.
Rabbit trails.
Yes.
Okay.
Rabbit trails.
All right. So a little bit of background.
Okay.
There was an extended period of time at our school, and I feel like it lasted at least 4 years, where there was a gold-toothed deer that ran around Lone Tree, and this deer was ginormous. I mean, bigger than anything you've ever seen in any Disney
And
movie.
fast. Very fast.
Gold-toothed?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how you could recognize him.
And he had it would take up wider than a car. Yeah. His antlers, they were ginormous. I mean, he would have been a prized.
Sure.
And he caused more accidents than any animal ever living.
Because nobody wanted to try and take him on.
Has caused.
Right?
It was a horrible thing. I can't tell you how many cars were totaled, put in the auto body shop to avoid. I mean, because hitting this thing would have been disastrous. People would have died.
Right. Right.
So at all costs, you avoided this deer.
Sure.
It was a pandemic in our town.
It was a pre-pandemic, wasn't it? Pre-pandemic. And yet we lived.
Yeah, and we did. We survived. So some of us may have encountered this deer more than once.
AKA you.
Not this guy.
Oh. And so then we're looking over at Jeff since he's
I
the one that's...
I don't know about whether Jeff did or not. I'm just saying I know there are some people in the school that encountered him more than one time. Mm-hmm. I feel like the name Hillier came up earlier. He may have been involved in more than one. Russell Sexton seems like a name that might have been in. People that lived out in the country were more apt to run into this problem than the town boys did.
If the deer was, traipsing through town.
No, not so much in town.
Well,
usually out on the
country.
Usually not in town. Gravel roads or the lightly black-topped or macadam surfaced roads.
And everybody had seen this deer, or only
most,
the high school students?
Most people had seen this deer.
Is it like the Bigfoot where there's cloudy?
That's kind of what I'm
No.
thinking.
I know that's where I'm at.
No, I don't.
This was
I don't feel like
cell
it's.
phones. We
I
didn't
don't
have
feel
an
like
opportunity
it's.
to take a picture.
I don't feel like this is like a Bigfoot or Loch Ness kind of thing.
Oh, well.
This was a real deer.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can't have that many eyewitnesses in that amount of time to not have it be a
We use that
issue.
term eyewitness very loosely, of course.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was reported on in the paper. I
know that it was cited in our yearbook.
I know it was in the yearbook.
It was cited in the yearbook for sure. So to me, that actually is a citation.
Yes, that's a legitimate reference.
Fairly close in order to see.
Several of us got pretty close.
Yes.
To get to the gold tooth.
When this thing is Bowduking across the hood of your car, you can see those teeth clearly.
Well, that one anyway.
Yes, that one shining one.
Okay.
And it was really weird that he always came out on a very brightly lit moonlit night.
Of course. Right.
Well, I had to be able to see where he was going.
He did.
Clearly, he's not a cat.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it sounds to me, as I recall, there were several accidents associated with this rogue gold-toothed deer.
I believe that there was. Mm-hmm. And not just around Lone Tree. I heard tales of issues with him around the hills area when I worked at Iguanas.
Oh.
So
he travels.
He was a mighty buck, and he had a big herd, and he made quite the rounds through the territory.
Interesting.
Yes.
I think, as I recall, that most deer die within like 10 miles of where they're actually born at. So that would, between Hills and Lone Tree, that area of Johnson County would be perfectly reasonable territory for a large buck to travel in.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably visiting relatives. For
Yeah.
Well,
things like that.
And being a school teacher, I would believe that from
Yes.
Jeff. I'm not a deer expert, so
Right.
I will believe that 100%.
Yes. Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the backstory to our next podcast?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, if you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you tune in for the next podcast where you will learn the relevance of the gold-toothed deer. Again, this is Morrison Madness. I'm Don.
I'm Lachelle.
This is Jeff and his wife Susan. You can check us out on Facebook, all the other social medias. You can see our podcast on YouTube and follow us on all of the other podcasts.
All the players.
I don't know what they are. Apple, Orange, Watermelon, Google, whatever.
Yep. If there's a podcast player that you're not finding us, let us know. I'll see if we can't get us on there, but we should be on all of them.
If you have any questions or comments, or if you're a classmate, we're sorry.
The names have been changed to protect the guilty.
I'm not sure they were. We will see you next time. Take care.